Thank you very much. On that note, I would like to call on the SGF, sir, to kindly give us your opening remarks.
I wish to warmly welcome us all to the first quarter 2021 regular meeting of the Forum of Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Secretaries to the State Governments. Permit me to seize this opportunity to thank you for your participation at the extraordinary meeting convened at the instance of the Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development on the theme Strengthening National Poverty Eradication Strategy, held on Friday, 5th February 2021. The most important outcome from that meeting was the creation of an opportunity for the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development to strengthen the relationship between the federal and state governments in making sure that the state governments are fully aware, supportive, and involved in the various poverty eradication programs of the federal government. Such a synergy would ensure that the benefits of these programs reach greater majority of poor Nigerians that really need such support. I'm sure that this relationship is positively evolving. As mentioned during that meeting, we are convening today for the first quarter year 2021 regular meeting of this forum, and we do intend to ensure that we meet regularly in spite of the constraints of holding virtual meetings. With the continued rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines and the adherence to non-pharmaceutical interventions, I am sure Nigeria would achieve herd immunity in good time for us to return to physical meetings. In the meantime, we have to take maximum advantage of this new mode of meetings, which indeed is a key part of our new normal, and may even continue after we begin physical meetings, especially as we all have seen its effectiveness and efficiency. Ordinarily, we were to begin this meeting with a review of the last regular meeting held in 2018 before its cessation because of the electioneering campaigns and the elections, and thereafter we went into COVID-19 in the whole of the year 2020. But the issues discussed then have been overtaken by events to such an extent that reading those minutes would be a counterproductive endeavor. More so that more than 50% of participants at that meeting are no longer members of this forum. Similarly, the need to make virtual meetings as short as possible also compels us to be pragmatic. In this regard, I have taken the liberty to dispense with such formalities and go directly into the basis of this meeting. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we would all agree that in the recent past, Nigeria has been confronted with an inexplicable escalation of violence, resulting in insecurity across the nation. I would not want to bother you with the details of these forms of criminality because they are all known to you because they happen in your jurisdictions. But to add that it is not it not only serves as a drain to our national resources, but creates a climate of uncertainty and challenges the ability of the nation to provide a convivial atmosphere for its citizens to go about their everyday normal businesses. Governments at all levels have been doing their utmost to address these challenges. However, its persistence calls for approaches that are more than conventional and normal to involve all arms of government all apparatus of government, and most importantly, those that have relationship directly with the rural communities and the citizenry. It is therefore in line with the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari, with support from all state governors, the security and intelligence agency, that this forum should bring to bear its coordinating and monitoring role at all levels for a holistic approach to a resolution of these problems. The theme for this meeting, the role of secretaries to the state governments in strengthening subnational level security architecture, reflects the need for this forum to ensure that all machinery of government works synergetically in resolving our present security challenges. This theme underscores the imperative for the security agencies to share their thoughts with the forum and thereby highlight critical areas in which we can provide the necessary support and facilitation for a kinetic strategy. I therefore want to use this opportunity to thank the National Security Advisor and the Inspector General of Police for finding time to be with us. Learning from a practical experience of dealing with the issue of banditry, we have also requested one of our members to share with us so that others with similar experiences can also exchange notes. And by the end of the day, we leave with practical steps and strategies to curtail this menace. So the Secretary to the State Government of Niger State will be sharing his experiences in coordination and facilitation of peace in Niger State. We all know that these criminal elements have turned our hitherto pristine forest reserves into an operational base and hideout from which most of their activities are launched and sustained. Of course, we will still need our forests and other protected areas for the services they provide, especially as foreign exchange earners, sources of job creation, guaranteeing availability of soil nutrients and water for food security, serving as carbon sinks for addressing climate change, and providing clement environment for a healthy living. Therefore, the challenge is for governments at the state level to put in place processes and mechanisms that were hitherto operational for maintaining a sustainably managed forest, as all forests in the country reside in states and they belong and come under the jurisdiction of state governments. In a similar vein, the federal government will continue to strengthen the National Park Service to ensure that all previous 7 national parks and the 10 new ones created remain inviolate for use by the criminal elements. I also want to thank the Forestry Association of Nigeria for the presentation they would make and call on them to also mobilize the forestry profession in the country in providing contemporary and timely recommendations for consideration by governments at their various state levels, consistent with the status of ownership of these forests. Finally, it is my hope that we will conclude this meeting with resolutions that will help in eliminating the current security challenges being faced in the country. We have a collective responsibilities as coordinating officers in our various states to ensure that the security architecture of our states, and even at the federal level, particularly with regards to policies that deal with public security and peace, are well coordinated and are cascaded to the local government areas so that we can build an architecture that will be sustainable and that we'll be able to address the current challenges and going forward, providing safety and security, which is the primary responsibility of government to our people. They rightly deserve that. And I believe that we will be failing in our responsibilities if we do not do everything humanly possible in providing that security architecture that would allow Nigerians move across belts and state boundaries in this country in pursuit of their enterprise and means of livelihood. Thank you very much, and I will want to honestly thank you for joining. I know how busy you are. The IGP and the National Security Advisor have another meeting with traditional institutions this afternoon. So I must thank you for the opportunity of being able to be with us to share your thoughts and your experiences and give counsel and advice to the secretaries, to the state governments on how to coordinate, more especially with the IG, who I know would not talk and leave out the issue of community policing, which is a new strategy that has been deployed and put in place by the federal government to ensure that the security of this country becomes everybody's business. Even at the community level, it should be the responsibility of the community to watch after its own community and provide intelligence to the security operatives so that we can nip in the bud, even intending acts of criminality and banditry. Thank you for your kind attention, and I wish us a very successful meeting. Thank you.
Of the Federation. Now we have the opportunity of kindly requesting the Honorable Minister of
Thank you very much. I think my minister is connected, but he has committed me to very quickly and strategies for improvement on the intervention packages of the federal government under the National Social Investment Program, NSIPS. Now, extracting from the communique of the last meeting, on one hand, it was reaffirmed that the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is to anchor collaboration and facilitate harmonizing all efforts to ensure cost-effective and efficient delivery of poverty eradication activities. On the other hand, it was also resolved that the secretaries to the state governments are to strengthen existing coordination mechanisms and interface with the federal government through the ministry. The minister is reporting happily that the ministry is currently carrying out high-level consultations to establish structures that will ensure all agencies responsible for implementing poverty eradication programs and projects to cooperate and be well coordinated, to share experiences, share data, and complement each other for effectiveness, better deployment of resources, and higher poverty reduction impacts. At the federal level, there will be a National Poverty Eradication Cooperation and Coordination Committee chaired by the Honorable Minister herself. At the state level, there will also be a State Poverty Eradication Cooperation and Coordination Committee aimed at achieving similar objectives. This committee will be managed under the offices of the SSGs. The members of this forum will be consulted to finalize these arrangements, and there will be another brief on it at the next quarterly meeting of the forum. Also, at the last meeting, to achieve Mr. President's goal of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years, and also ensure a national approach as opposed to the traditional federal approach, and direct linkages between efforts at reducing poverty with credible, transparent, and reliable data, the Minister is again happy to report that the Ministry has established the National Social Register aimed at capturing in detail the data on all poverty and vulnerable citizens in our country. So far, nearly 30 million individuals have been registered nationwide, and to ensure that all stakeholders are carried along, the Ministry has commenced the socialization program of the Social Register to ensure that all MDAs recognize the need to harmonize, cooperate, and mine the data of the register for their projects effectively. Already, the register has been socialized successfully among federal ministers and the international development partners. The positive comments received on the usefulness and reliability of data at that level was very encouraging. The next stage will see the socialization program covering the core poverty eradication agencies at the federal level, including basic education, primary healthcare agencies, rural water supply, jobs creation, entrepreneurship, rural housing, etc., and also the federal directors of planning, research, and statistics in the relevant federal ministries. Then there will be a zonal level socialization, and then down to the states again. For this structure, the SSGs will be briefed on all the arrangements to ensure their full participation and support. Also, at the last meeting, it was deliberated on the importance of maintaining the use of credible, reliable, and transparent data, and also to ensure that when we implement poverty eradication programs, we have to guarantee women's participation to reduce their multiple forms of discrimination, which predisposes them to more poverty. In this regard, the minister is happy to report that the ministry has resolved to ensure that in all its structures, the National Bureau of Statistics and the Ministry of Women Affairs will be prominently represented and to hold principal participation roles. Towards the end of the last meeting, the forum also noted the importance of intensifying consultations with the offices of the secretaries to the state governments to greater stakeholder partnership and collaboration. In this regard, the minister is reporting that the ministry will fashion out deliberate structures to ensure effective implementation of the National Social Investment Program in all states. The SSGs will be the lead in the states in this new arrangement. Already, Mr. President has approved the engagement of a national coordinator, who is me, of the INSIP, who has already reported to duty. Further details will be made available to the forum and all its members. On other relevant submissions, including recognizing the multidimensional nature of poverty, the need to strengthen the capacity of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development to undertake its responsibilities, and ensuring states are fully kept abreast of federal initiatives for effective interface and also ensure effective supervision. The minister is happy to report that the core values and activities of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development are well aligned to all the above values. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Nat'l. Assistance to the victims through our Ministry of Bureau for that's on our own part. But we have a close working relationship with the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you, Dada.
The relationship and look at the gas which the gas the issue of the potential cash transfer raised by Niger State Government, what really does by taking about. Is there a 3-month period program? As a matter of fact, some of these households have been on this program for the last 9 years. There's supposed to be an exit plan where we are executing to a kind of life program where we support them skills and kind of startup and that we want us to create that for those that have been on the program for more than 3 years. This is our plan, and I want to create that after 2 years graduated. Level 2 graduate is this pilot and meaningful life. And we're also in the process of materializing the program end-to-end. That's already have a pilot state how to actualize, and then on the guide we're going to watch see how we're going to address all this issue. So far, we have not really commenced yet also kind of this is the back of industry. This road is supposed to be a revolving road, and so far we've not been able to cover up to 5%.
The document is being finalized. You don't have the benefit that we have at the federal level because we have a whole ministry that is charged with this matter. So the responsibility back in your states would definitely be domiciled on your desk. It's probably early part of them for consideration. Once it is passed by the Federal Executive Council, it is a national poverty reduction strategy. It's a massive document that will come with massive investment in terms of reduction that we deal with. You can contact us for further details. The Permanent Secretary we can give you insight as to the kind of structure that you want and why you begin to think about deploying.
Accorded this rare opportunity to participate and contribute to discussions on finding lasting solutions to the security challenges currently facing our dear nation. I must commend the efforts of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in coming up with this platform and with this solution, which has been non-existent between the security community and the wider civil service. All our interactions have been done in a haphazard manner that has not given us the opportunity to interact directly. This is the first time it is happening, and this is something that gladdens the heart of the entire intelligence community, and we are looking forward to establishing greater direct contacts with all the state governments through this platform. And therefore, I want to commend the effort of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in coming up with this issue. I know in the past we've had interactions in which the Permanent Secretary Special Services Office has the monthly meeting, and the NSA has the National Economic Council, which he briefs from time to time, but this is a more robust arrangement, and therefore I would want to encourage the SGF working in partnership with the relevant ministers, humanitarian affairs, environment, and so on and so forth, to keep this thing going. Let it not die. I, on my part, want to make a commitment that I'll be fully involved in this thing. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by appreciating you for reviving this forum and for the unqualified and continuous support, as well as contributions towards addressing the security challenges we currently face. As you are all aware, our country is currently going through a very difficult phase in its existence, with various dimensions of security challenges ranging from insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, herders-farmers clashes, cultism, pipeline and electricity facility vandalism, secessionist agitation tendencies. Now, these security challenges need to be handled appropriately and timely in order to prevent the situation from adversely affecting our journey towards national development.
Yes, just go. Yes.
Without prejudice to all the ongoing efforts to tackle insecurity, I should like to emphasize the need for a whole of government and whole of society approach in tackling insecurity in the country. Hence, security should be seen as everybody's business. This implies that the issue of security should not be left to only the federal government, but must involve all stakeholders, including state and local governments, every individual and every community. All hands should therefore be on deck to tackle what has now become a menace and national embarrassment. That is why expanding the level of consultations and implementing appropriate measures from the outcome of those consultations. The recent strategy instituted in Zamfara State is a case in point. Once the effect is thoroughly analyzed, we cannot rule out regional or zonal application of the strategy. Distinguished members of the forum and guest participants, our clamor for state police, which some schools of thought opine that it is aimed at reinvigorating the internal security framework, has gained momentum recently. The agitation has not abated since this administration came on board. Not even the resources deployed in tackling the various Hydra-headed security challenges in the country, coupled with the high level of successes recorded by this government so far, have succeeded in dampening the agitations. Some believe that state police is a panacea to the contemporary security challenges without according deep consideration to its implication on national security. The idea, as beautiful as it appears on the surface, has numerous negative consequences for national security. Although Nigeria is a federation, its democratic institutions are not mature enough for the establishment of state police, as there are apparent fears that state police would be employed for political victimization or other primordial reasons. It is paradoxical that the main proponents of devolution of authority in the polity are the most vociferous in opposing the devolution of policing duties to the community level through community policing. It may interest you to note that the federal government has initiated a community policing strategy that would incorporate all the informal policing outfits, including private security guards, companies across the country, to complement the efforts of other law enforcement agencies. The initiative has commenced in most states, and it includes, but not limited to, the regulation and mobilization of all informal policing outfits. Aside from this, the Nigeria Police has also commenced the reinvigoration of internal security architecture by repositioning the Nigeria Police as the lead agency in internal security operations. All these are to ensure that we build strong relationships with the public, which would play a significant role in reducing crime rates. Community-oriented policing has been shown to be highly effective in reducing crime rates and creating a sense of trust and security among citizens. In this connection, state governments must carve out roles for traditional rulers and civil society organizations. This will remove the perceived disconnect in the relationship between the public and security agencies. Dear SSGs, as security managers of our respective states, I want to implore you all to develop a robust internal security framework that will encourage community-based intelligence gathering and security consciousness. There's also a need to involve all critical stakeholders, including traditional leaders, as well as religious and community leaders, among others. We also need to resuscitate community-driven safety measures, which essentially is the monitoring of what happens at the local government level and escalating it to the necessary quarters for quick and appropriate response. This was how entrants and visitors into communities were discovered, registered, and monitored in the past. We can and should therefore resuscitate the system to complement the work of security agencies. It is my fervent belief that once we get everybody involved in information gathering and sharing, especially at the community level, we would be able to significantly reduce the current crime rate and insecurity in the country. Let me therefore make reference to the case of the abduction of students recently and the importance of obtaining information from the people. How was it possible for over 300 students to be moved away from a location without anyone knowing and witnessing the mass movement to alert security agencies? In contrast, over 100 students of the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization in Kaduna were rescued because of timely information and immediate response of security forces. The system we have is sufficient and therefore it is pointless in yet creating another layer of bureaucracy in this era of scarce resources. If everyone takes security as his or her business, the success rate in the fight against banditry and terrorism will certainly be higher. In conclusion, distinguished members and participants, I urge you all to see security as everyone's business. No one is unimportant, no one is irrelevant. And in this connection, we can collectively tackle the present challenges and thereby reduce insecurity to the barest minimum. Let me at this juncture reiterate the capability and preparedness of the armed forces and security agencies to deal with the current challenges. We shall not waver but continue to discharge our constitutional responsibilities regardless. I wish us fruitful deliberations and positive outcome. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Operations by security agencies. Now, it is easier to say that some number of, individuals are kidnapped, and let me give an example of the Kagara episode in Niger. About 200, were taken away. And of course, not that no intelligence was given. There was intelligence, the communities cooperated, but our challenge has always been a response. The whole of that local government, of Rafi local government, had only 86 policemen. 86. And these bandits came in hundreds, with well-sophisticated arms. So communities just, became helpless. And this is the challenge that we have. 60% of our communities are not policed. Even where you have, a semblance or presence of police, they are not, well armed. In fact, it's even suicidal to have some police stations where they are currently located based on, the activities of bandits that we have seen. In fact, at some point in my state, we have just quietly advised that all those police stations should be closed because they overrun the police stations, cut away their arms, and of course, at the end of the day, some of the policemen, lost their lives. I know that the architecture needs to be well invigorated. Believe me, it is easier to, look at, the situation that we have. Niger State, for instance, has, 86,000 square kilometers. Before security agencies move from one community to another to respond, sometimes it will take them 3-4 hours.
We've created a system that is not responsive, is not responsible, and by virtue of the erosion of their powers and resources, our people are reacting to institutions of government with disdain. I mean, we all come from local governments, we come from wards, we all come from constituencies. What I've observed over the last couple of decades, probably about 3 decades, the local governments and the traditional institutions in those local levels have completely lost their relevance. They don't carry the moral authority they used to carry. They don't carry the requisite civilian authority that they ought to carry. And so we have completely abdicated that space for criminals to perpetuate their processes and execute their enterprises. I believe going forward, as secretaries to the government of your various states, honestly, we must go back and recalibrate the entire political structure. If the wards and the local governments are not working for us, let's begin to think about other things that will work for us. I have served in 2 constituent assemblies where we have deliberated over these things over and over in an attempt to find proper solutions to our administrative governance in this country. And I think this is a larger discussion, and I'm saying it here on our platform so that we can begin to introduce these matters in our various states. That is it high time we begin to look at what structure will work for us? If this is not working for us, what do we do to effectively? Because these acts of banditry, kidnapping, and the rest are not likely to exit very soon. Because it has become commercialized, it's merchandise, the resources are there, the access to small light weapons is there. So people have decided, okay, if other means of livelihood, the institutions are not providing for us, if this enterprise will be the one that will bring succor to us, why not? So it's a larger conversation, and I believe that as secretaries to the government of your various states, you must instigate this discussion and conversation. Given the next couple of years, for the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, it will come to a terminal end by 2023. Some of you in your various states, because of the scheduling of elections, some of you might go beyond 2023. But I don't want us to pretend as if this will exit. There has been a total breakdown of civilian authority and moral authority at the local government and our constituencies and village levels. And unless we deal with that, whatever we try to put on the top, the kinetic approach, it will just create an immediate respite for us as a country. But fundamentally,
it would not solve the problem. So I will now ask the National Security Advisor to respond to the issues that have been raised. And I thank you for your very, very robust contributions. Thank you.
All work together practically to deal with issues of insecurity in our localities. It's not a general statement, it's just a random, we are not here for random statements or theories, but how can we look into insecurity in our communities and then deal with them as leaders? The secretaries to the governments of states, they are engine to governments of those states. They coordinate the activities of the state government, including security. Therefore, how do we work together, not only allowing the federal government to take charge of security of the localities that the state and local governments are supposed to take the responsibility? Looking at the security challenges in the country, we know every geopolitical zone has one issue or the other. If you go to the northeastern part of the country, it's the issue of insurgency mainly. You come to the northwestern part of the country, we have this kidnapping and banditry. You go to the southeast, we have the airport and also kidnapping. The airport are even becoming more deadly now. If you go to the southwest, we still have issues of armed robbery and kidnapping, and in the south-south, the story is the same. That of the southeast, to me, it is also an insurgency because they are separatists who are looking to disrespect or they don't recognize the government and they want to break away. Now, this is a situation in each of our localities we have challenges. And at federal level, we've developed a lot of strategies towards mitigating these issues. But we don't get the maximum cooperation that we're supposed to get from the state, at the state level. And we believe the secretaries to the state governments should be conscious of security in their state, because when they are able to galvanize all the stakeholders and different structures that are there that can enhance the security of their state, will have relative peace in terms of insecurity. Because if the secretaries of the state governments are not coordinating activities within the state in this area, I don't think there's anybody that can do. You don't need to wait for State Security Council meeting that is called for. Some governors don't even call for it at all. Some call it once a month. Some, they don't care. So, but the secretaries to the state government should be able, either on weekly basis or monthly basis, summon stakeholders to discuss issues bordering on security of their states. At the federal government level, we have realized that policing should come from the grassroots. States, wards, districts, villages, and towns should participate in fighting insecurity within the locality. That's why the federal government came up with community policing strategy. And this community policing strategy, as we're implementing it, we want the secretaries of the governments of each state to be fully involved in it, because they are the ones to guide the government of the states on the implementations and the challenges that are associated with it, so that the people trained to work within the communities, benefits is being derived from they are being trained and deployed. We have already worked with the state governments we asked them to give us, which all state governments did, except about 4, we asked them to go to their wards, their districts, their villages, and towns. And this structure constitutes both local government structure and state structure. Individuals were selected, individuals that were born and they grew up within the district, within the villages, and within the towns. Through the state government, we got this list and we trained them and kitted them as community policing officers, and we deployed them back to the villages where they came from, to the wards where they came from, and to the towns where they came from. The purpose is for them to prevent crime, to generate intelligence. All low-level crimes are to be dealt with this group of people. Now, this group of people are not supposed to be going to DPO or Commissioner of Police to be reporting security issues, especially low-level security issues. They are to report to a group. So a structure has been created in each local government and at the state level. In the local government, we have Community Policing Advisory Committee, where you have the chairman of the local government as the chairman of the committee, with traditional ruler being the co-chair. Then we have representatives of other security agencies and other stakeholders like town union representatives. We have youth representatives, market women representatives, other faith-based organizations that are represented. So this committee is supposed to deliberate on all security problems within the local government. If there is drug issue, problem of drug affecting the community, at least the community policing officers coming from the districts and the towns should be able to know those individuals that are involved in drug issues, and they report it to this committee. And this committee will deliberate on why is there too much drugs within their community. Who are the people that are bringing it? We know ourselves. If foreigners are bringing it, we can easily know. If it is within our children, we can easily know and then deal with it. So they deal with the security problems there. If it is rape issue or assault or theft, they deal with it. They don't need to go to DPO, the normal police station. So the community solve their problems, except if there is serious problem like felonious offenses, then they take to the DPO. At the state level, the same thing has been created to coordinate the activities of the local government community policing committee. At the state level, we have the chairman of the traditional council of the state, with the commissioner of police co-chairing. Then we have representatives from different components of the society also represented there, and they coordinate the activities of the community policing committees at the local government level. And at the end, they report to the governor the security situation in the state as it affects the rural areas. So we've trained about 18,360 community policing officers already, and we feel that the state governments have tremendous role to play, just like every other citizen of this country. As you know, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given responsibility to every citizen to render assistance to appropriate to law enforcement agencies in the maintenance of law and order in their community. So everybody has to be brought on board. But who does the coordination? That is the emphasis. Who does the coordination in each state? The secretaries to the state governments have to do the coordination. Because if you leave it to the governor to be calling meetings all the time, there will be no meeting and there will be no coordination. So it is very important that you realize this. And then whatever structure you have in your states, I know some states have created other vigilante groups and they created laws to back them. They cannot work in isolation from other security agencies. Therefore, the coordination again falls within the office of secretaries to the state government, which they must take their responsibilities. Funding of security is very expensive, and the federal government has been doing its own. The state governments have been also contributing because most state governments buy vehicles, they fuel the vehicles, and they even give allowance to security agencies. The traditional institutions are left out in terms of support to give intelligence that can support security agencies in performing their duties. I think funding should trickle down to the traditional institutions within the state or within the communities so that they can be part of the security architecture in supporting law enforcement agencies. And the community policing structure that I explained are already in the Police Act, the structure, so there's a legal backing for it. But it is also a structure that if you, in your own state, if you even modify it to adapt to your own peculiar environment, you can also create a law within the state to enhance the performance of the community policing structure in your state. I've had in this platform communal issues, communal clashes, but the state governments are supposed to, again, through the office of the secretaries of the state governments, to create early warning system that could be utilized to take care of communal crises that may evolve. If such early warning system is created when there's going to be any issue of chieftaincy title, farmer-herders conflict, and so on and so forth, it can be identified early and then a solution be found as quickly as possible. And the issue of good governance must be emphasized here because most of the criminals are coming from, just like what the Secretary of the Government of the Federation said, they are coming from our localities. So we know them in the sense that if you have a bandit, he's located within an area, and that area there's a kind of a government that takes care of that area. So if a bandit is within an area, maybe it's within a district, and that district belongs to a local government, and that local government invariably belongs to state. But if you ask the criminals, why are they into these criminalities? Some of them will tell you for economic purposes. Why is it so? Because they don't have any alternative means of survival. So the state government must identify this group of people that are ready to leave criminality, but they must have alternative means of survival. And it is very simple. In each state, you have already structures. You have ministries. If an individual or group of people want to leave criminality, it's just you bring them closer, create a center for them, check your ministry, let them come and get, maybe you have a ministry that is a Ministry of Religious Affairs. Carry the staff there to go and preach to these people you put in a center to work on them to know that what they are doing, even religiously, is bad. And then you have ministries that deal with skills acquisition. You bring staff there to give them training on skills acquisition, and then at the end of the period you kept them there, you must have been trained them adequately in various skills, and then at the end you give them some start off to go back to the society and be good citizens, rather than keeping them, saying you don't care about them, or you come up with some policies in trying to remove people from poverty, but they are also not involved because you've not been able to reach them, or the process is such that they cannot access it at all, that will continue to create insecurity. So good governance is very, very important. During the discussion, I had some intervention. The NSA was talking about the role of traditional rulers that have been removed from the Constitution, and that has created gap. Yeah, it is true at the constitutional level, but it has not stopped state governments from creating laws that can give traditional rulers a role to play within their states. And in fact, some states have already done that. They have capacitated the traditional rulers through state laws for them to perform the duties that they're supposed to perform within the society. So each state government, the SGF, the secretary to the state government should take this initiative of working with the legislature within their own state to come up with laws that can support traditional rulers in performing their duties. IPOD are terrorists because they have been proscribed, but they have constituted themselves into a kind of armed group now that they keep on attacking police stations and police personnel. And we're saying that when you attack a police station and you destroy it, you have attacked your own structure, which was built by your own money, and that if it is to be rebuilt, it is going to be your own money because the state government must be involved in the rebuilding and the rest of them. Therefore, the community there should rise against any group of people that will come and destroy their own communal structure, rather than sitting back and be looking and allowing the police officers gunning down people that are coming to attack the police stations, and in some cases they succeed in burning the police station. The community should also rise against these bad elements within them. Trust in the police, yes, no doubt there's that trust gap between the society and the police, but the nature of the society we have now is that every segment of the society there is this trust gap because of our nature. When you talk of, you create a structure to deal with a particular crime or particular issue, you see the community going against that institution. We have trust gap between the police and community, trust gap between the military and the community, trust gap between the other security agencies and the community. So it is the attitude of the community that has to change our citizens. There are responsibilities given to our citizens, or all of us, by the Constitution, but we don't take that responsibility. We need to preach that. SGF, I'll stop here.